Two little girls stood silently in the falling snow, watching happiness through a glass window they were never meant to enter. They didn't beg. They didn't cry. When a billionaire finally noticed them, he didn't know this moment would force him to choose between walking away or staying forever. Snow fell the way Seattle rain used to, quiet, relentless, impossible to argue with. Across the street, the windows of Crown and Ember Toy Gallery glowed like a small, warm planet. Amber lights, velvet shelves, hand-carved wooden trains circling tracks that never led anywhere dangerous. Inside, childhood was preserved behind glass, clean and bright. Outside, two girls stood beneath the narrow edge of an awning. They were both 7 years old. Not twins, but close enough to confuse strangers. Same height, same careful stillness, same way their shoulders leaned slightly inward, as if the cold had taught them how to fold into less space. Luna Hale stood half a step in front. Her coat was thin navy blue, the sleeves just a little too short. Snow dusted her dark hair pulled back tight. No loose strands, no mistakes. She didn't move. She didn't shiver. She had learned long ago that shivering drew attention. Behind her, Mira Hale wore a pale gray beanie pulled down over her ears. She clutched the strap of a worn backpack with both hands like it was the only thing anchoring her to the ground. Every few seconds, she shifted her weight toes, numb inside boots that had already survived too many winters. They didn't press their faces to the glass. They didn't point. They didn't whisper wishes. Inside the store, a boy laughed as his parents lifted him onto a carousel horse painted white and gold. A phone camera flashed. A black card slid across the counter without pause. The boy chose a remote-control dragon roaring happily as it was wrapped like a treasure. Mira's eyes followed the dragon careful. Not greedy, Luna's eyes followed the parents' hands, steady, sure, wrapped all the way around their child. Snow thickened. The cold crept higher. The girls stayed. Waiting had become something they were good at. The snow crept into the hems of their pants, melting slowly, soaking fabric that had already dried too many times near borrowed heaters. Mira shifted closer to Luna. "Do you think—" She started, then stopped. Luna didn't answer. She didn't need to. The question didn't need words anymore. Inside the gallery, warmth hummed softly, hidden heaters, quiet music, laughter bouncing off polished wood. The smell of cedar and vanilla drifted out every time the door opened, then vanished again like a promise withdrawn. A family exited the store bags swinging lightly in their hands. The mother smiled at her phone. The father was already distracted. Neither noticed the two girls pressed against the night. Mira's breath came out in small clouds. "Maybe they'll close soon," she whispered, voice thin. "Then we go," Luna said. Her voice was steady. Too steady for a 7-year-old. Mira nodded and tightened her grip on the backpack. Inside it was everything that mattered, an extra pair of socks, a cracked photo frame wrapped in cloth, and nothing else. She'd checked twice before leaving the apartment. They weren't supposed to be here long, just to look. Just to feel warm for a minute from the other side of the glass. Mira's fingers burned. She tucked them under her arms, trying not to cry. Crying made adults uncomfortable. Crying made questions happen. Questions led to things changing, and change was dangerous. Luna watched the snow pile up at the edge of the sidewalk. She counted cars instead. 1, 2, 7. Counting kept her from thinking about how long it had been since anyone had said their names with relief. Inside, the lights dimmed slightly as a staff member adjusted the displays. The dragon was placed in a bag and handed over. The boy cheered again. Mira swallowed. "They look happy," she said. Luna didn't correct her. She didn't say that's temporary. She just said they're warm. Elias Crown didn't believe in coincidence. At 38, he believed in systems networks that predicted threats before they arrived, algorithms that flagged danger while it was still invisible. He had built his fortune on control, on foresight, on knowing where things broke. The toy gallery was supposed to be simple, a side project, a tribute to nostalgia, a place where wealthy parents could buy memories and call it love. From the back office, Elias glanced at the security monitors out of habit. He expected coats, predictable movement, children bouncing because someone would always catch them. Instead, he saw the girls, two small figures standing in the snow, still, too still. They hadn't moved in several minutes. They weren't laughing. They weren't knocking. They weren't waving for attention, just watching the window like it was something sacred. Elias frowned. Unsupervised children meant liability, bad optics, risk. His hand went to his phone, then stopped. Something tightened in his chest, sharp and unwelcome. Not pity, not guilt, recognition. A memory surfaced without permission. 8 years old, standing in a room full of adults who talked over him like furniture. Learning early that silence was safer than asking. These kids, his store manager Renee Lawson said softly from the doorway. They've been there a while. Parents nearby, Elias asked, already knowing. Renee shook her head. Elias stood. He didn't plan kindness. He didn't rehearse words. He just walked. The bell above the glass door chimed gently as he stepped outside, snow dusting his coat instantly. The girls stiffened. Elias crouched slowly, keeping his hands visible. "Hey," he said, voice low, careful. "It's freezing out here." Luna's eyes lifted first, sharp, measuring. Mira shrank back half a step. "You can come inside," Elias continued. "You don't have to buy anything." A pause. Snow fell between them. Mira whispered, almost too quiet to hear. "Nah." "Really?" Elias nodded once. "Really," and for the first time that night, the waiting began to break. For a moment, no one moved. Snow gathered quietly on Elias Crown's shoulders, melting into dark specks on his coat. The warmth from the store drifted out behind him, then stalled, as if unsure whether it was allowed to reach the girls. Luna didn't step forward. She watched his face instead. Adults smiled when they wanted something. They leaned in. They rushed children into decisions. Elias did none of that. He stayed where he was, crouched low, giving the cold time to exist between them. "You don't have to," he added softer now. "You can just come in to warm up." Mira's fingers twitched on the backpack strap. Her breath came quick, uneven. "What if we touch something?" she asked. Elias shook his head. "Then nothing happens." Luna narrowed her eyes. Not rude, experienced, and if someone gets mad, she asked. Elias didn't answer right away. He looked back through the glass at the glowing shelves, the parents who didn't hear questions like that. "Then they'll be mad at me," he said. "Not you." That was new. Snow crept into Luna's boots. She made a decision the way children do when they've had too much practice, fast, quiet, without ceremony. She stepped forward. Mira followed instantly, pressing close, their coats brushing as they crossed the threshold. The door closed behind them with a gentle chime. Warmth wrapped around their legs first, then their hands, then the tight place in their chests that had learned not to expect relief. The air smelled like wood polish and sugar. Soft music floated above them, careful not to disturb anything expensive. They didn't move far. They stood just inside the entrance, as if permission might expire. Elias straightened, but didn't leave. He stayed near, not hovering, just present. Behind them, snow continued to fall. Inside, for the first time that night, it stopped touching their skin. The gallery felt different with the girls inside. Not louder, quieter. Children were usually loud in places like this, running fingers along shelves, tugging sleeves, asking for things they wouldn't remember wanting tomorrow. Luna and Mira did none of that. They walked slowly, hands at their sides. They didn't reach. They didn't ask. Mira paused in front of a wooden dollhouse no bigger than a suitcase. Her eyes traced its tiny windows, the painted doors. She smiled once, quick and careful, then let the smile go. Luna watched a family near the counter instead. A father lifted his daughter onto his shoulders. The girl laughed loud and unafraid. Her mother said, "Pick anything, sweetheart," like the world had already agreed. The words landed heavy. Mira shifted, suddenly unsure where to stand. A woman in pearls noticed them then. Her smile was polite, automatic. "Oh," she said, bending slightly. "Are you girls?" Lost. Mira froze. Luna stepped forward, body instinctively shielding her sister. "We're not lost." The woman's eyes flicked over their coats, their boots, the faint damp at the hems. Her smile tightened. "This store is very expensive," she said gently. "You know that, right?" The room went still. Elias felt heat rise behind his eyes, not anger, yet something sharper. He crossed the floor calmly, placing himself beside the girls. "They're guests," he said. "Looking is free." The woman blinked. "I didn't mean I know," Elias replied. His tone didn't change. "But they didn't do anything wrong." Mira's eyes shone, embarrassed by it. Luna didn't cry. She memorized the moment instead, storing it away like a map of where not to step next time. Without another word, Elias turned and walked to the door. He flipped the sign. "Closed back, soon." The lock clicked softly. The city continued outside. Snow, headlights, people moving on. Inside the gallery, the pressure lifted. For the first time, the girls could breathe without being seen. The store felt different with the doors locked. Not smaller, kinder. Elias guided Luna and Mira toward a small lounge tucked behind the main displays. Plush chairs, a low table, soft lighting meant for private collectors who preferred quiet over crowds. "You can sit," he said. "Or not. Your choice." They sat. Mira perched on the edge of the chair, feet dangling. Luna stayed upright, hands folded tightly in her lap. Elias sat too angled beside them, not across. Not an interviewer. A moment later, Renee returned with 2 small mugs of hot chocolate, steam curling upward. Whipped cream crowned the top like something from a picture book. Mira stared at it, suspicious and awed. Luna looked at Elias first. "It's just to warm you up," he said. "No strings," Mira whispered. "Nothing is free." Elias nodded, accepting it like a fact. "Then let's call it a gift." Silence. Finally, Mira wrapped both hands around the mug. Her shoulders shook once as warmth seeped in. Luna waited longer, then took one careful sip. Why, she asked. Elias searched for an answer that wasn't about guilt or loneliness or the echo inside his house. "Because it's cold," he said simply. "And your kids." The words landed softly. After a pause, Elias asked gently, "Where do you go at night?" The question changed the air. Mira looked at Luna. Luna nodded once. "Mrs. Cole's couch," Mira said. "Before dark." Snow pressed against the windows. Elias didn't react, didn't flinch, didn't make it dramatic. He just listened. And in that quiet 10 minutes stretched into something larger, a moment where no one was rushed, no one was judged, and 2 children felt for the first time in a long while that staying might be possible. The car idled at the curb, snow dusting the windshield in slow, patient layers. Elias didn't open the door for them. He stood beside it, hands in his coat pockets, waiting. "You can sit wherever you want," he said. "Front, back, your call." Mira hesitated, then climbed into the back seat, tucking her legs beneath her. Luna followed immediately, sitting close, but not touching eyes, still scanning windows, mirrors, exits. Elias drove without music. The city slid past in muted tones, streetlights blurred by falling snow, storefronts closing, early footprints already disappearing behind them. The world looked softer under snow, but Luna knew better. Snow hid things. It didn't fix them. Mira pressed her forehead to the glass. "Is it still snowing?" she asked. "Yes," Elias said. "Will it stop?" "Yes," he answered. Then after a pause, "Eventually." Mira accepted that. They drove in silence for a while, The heater hummed low. Warm air reached the back seat slowly, like it wasn't sure it was allowed. "You're not mad," Mira said suddenly. Elias glanced in the rearview mirror. "About what? About us being there," she said. "At the store." "No," he replied. "I'm not." Luna spoke then, voice quiet but firm. "People usually are." Elias didn't argue. He didn't say "not me." "I know," he said instead. The car turned onto a narrower street. Snowbanks rose along the sidewalks. The buildings here were older, tired brick, darkened by years of winters that never asked permission. Mira hugged her backpack. "Mrs. Cole worries," she said. "If we're late." "We won't be," Elias replied. Luna watched his hands on the steering wheel. Steady. Not rushed. She didn't relax. But she stopped bracing for the car to slow down and let them out early. The building smelled like old carpet and lemon cleaner. A single hallway light flickered, then steadied, buzzing softly. Snow clung to the girls' boots as they climbed the stairs, Luna counting each step under her breath. 8, 9, 10. At the third floor, Luna stopped. Apartment 3B. She knocked in a careful rhythm, 2 taps, pause, 1 tap. Mira stayed close enough to feel her sister's sleeve against her cheek. The door opened slowly. Winifred Cole, 74, stood hunched in the doorway, an oxygen tube looped beneath her nose. Relief crossed her face when she saw the girls, then tightened into caution when she saw Elias behind them. "Where were you?" she asked, voice thin with worry. Mira answered quickly, "Just looking at toys." And this man, Mrs. Cole's eyes sharpened. Elias stepped forward slightly, keeping his distance. "Elias Crown. I own the toy gallery downtown. I didn't want them walking back in the snow." Mrs. Cole studied his coat, his watch, the careful way he didn't step inside without being invited. "People like you don't help for free," she said. Luna spoke before Elias could answer. "He didn't make us feel small." The words landed heavy. Mrs. Cole opened the door wider. The apartment was small, painfully tidy. A couch with a folded blanket, children's drawings taped to the wall, a framed photo of a woman holding 2 younger girls, tired eyes, real smile. "That's our mom," Mira whispered. Mrs. Cole sat slowly. "They've been here since the funeral," she said. "I tried. I really did." Elias nodded. "I believe you." Mrs. Cole's voice dropped. "Social services are coming." The room went quiet. Luna's shoulders tightened. Mira's fingers curled into Luna's sleeve. The word didn't need explaining. Temporary had already arrived. Mrs. Cole stared at the floor. "They'll place the girls somewhere," she said. "Just while they sort things out." Mira whispered the word like it hurt her mouth. "Temporary." Luna didn't speak. She already knew what temporary meant. Temporary meant boxes. Temporary meant being quiet so adults wouldn't change their minds. Temporary meant sleeping light. Elias felt something settle in his chest, cold, steady, unignorable. "May I help?" he asked. Mrs. Cole laughed once short and tired. "Why Elias didn't dress it up?" "Because I know what it's like to be unwanted," he said. "And I won't pretend this is nothing." Silence stretched. Mira looked up at him, eyes wide. "If we go somewhere else? Will we go together?" Mrs. Cole's eyes filled. "I don't know, sweetheart." Elias answered without hesitation. "If I'm involved, you stay together." Luna snapped her gaze up. "You can't promise that." "No," Elias said calmly. "But I can promise I'll fight for it." Mrs. Cole studied him for a long moment, weighing disappointment against hope. "If you do this," she said, "you don't get to change your mind when it gets hard." Elias met her gaze. "I won't." Mira swallowed. "Really, really," he said. Snow tapped softly against the window. Luna leaned closer to Mira, her hand finding her sister's. For the first time that night, the word temporary didn't sound like an ending. It sounded like something that could be challenged. Elias Crown's house stood at the end of a curved road, snow lining the driveway like a quiet warning. Glass, stone, clean lines. No lights burning unnecessarily. It wasn't built to intimidate. It just hadn't been built for children. The car rolled to a stop. Elias didn't say, "This is my home." He didn't say welcome. He simply stepped out and waited the way he had outside the toy store. Mira leaned forward, nose nearly touching the window. "You live here?" she asked, careful. "It's just a house," Elias said. The words sounded untrue even to him. Inside, the silence felt taller. Footsteps echoed longer than they should. Luna slipped her boots off immediately and lined them neatly by the door toes, straight laces tucked. Mira copied her without thinking. Elias noticed. Sienna Lawson arrived quietly, carrying 2 small canvas totes. No logos, no toys, just soft pajamas, warm socks, child-sized slippers, toothbrushes still in their packaging. "These are yours," she said gently. "You can tell me if anything feels wrong." Mira reached for a pair of socks, then pulled her hand back. For how long, she asked. The question cut clean. Elias answered carefully. "Tonight you're safe. Tomorrow I'll still be here." Luna's shoulders tensed at tonight, then loosened slightly at still. He showed them 2 bedrooms side by side, a connecting door between them. He didn't tell them which one was whose. "You don't have to use these yet," he said. "We can sit downstairs." They chose the couch. Snow pressed against the tall windows, blurring the lake beyond. Elias set his phone face down on the table. "House rule," he said softly. "You can ask questions. You can say no." Mira whispered. "Even silly ones, especially those," Elias replied. Luna finally spoke. "We don't want to be separated." Elias met her eyes. "You won't be." She searched his face, looking for fine print. After a long moment, she nodded once. Not trust, but a test passed. Night came gently, like it didn't want to startle anyone. Elias read aloud from a book he hadn't opened in years. His voice stumbled once, then steadied. Mira curled on her side, clutching a pillow like it might disappear. Luna stayed upright longer than necessary, eyes tracking every sound the house made. When Elias stood, he asked, "Door open or closed?" Mira answered instantly. "Open." Luna nodded. Hours later, a soft sound slipped down the hallway. Bare feet, a pause, then retreat. Elias was already awake on the couch, lamp on, glasses low on his nose like he'd been waiting. Mira appeared in the doorway, hugging the pillow. She froze when she saw him. "I thought you'd be gone," she whispered. "I'm here," Elias said, not moving too fast. She sat at the far edge of the couch. "I had a dream," she said. "What happened in it?" "We were packing," she whispered. "Always packing." Elias didn't rush to fix it. "That sounds exhausting." Mira nodded, eyes wet. Luna hovered at the doorway, pretending not to listen. Elias caught her eye. "You can sit too," he said. She hesitated, then sat straight-backed, brave. "If we wake up a lot," Luna asked quietly, "will you get mad?" Elias felt the question land like a bruise. "No," he said. "Even if it's annoying," Mira added quickly, even then." Luna's shoulders dropped an inch. "New rule," Elias said. "If you wake up scared, you come find me. No apologies, no consequences." Mira leaned into the pillow. "Promise," "I promise." "Effort," Elias said. "I promise staying." Luna considered the phrasing. Effort. Staying. Honest. Not magic. They returned to their rooms. The doors stayed open, the connecting door too. Later, a whimper cut through the quiet. Elias moved without thinking, kneeling beside Mira's bed, then Luna's. "I'm here," he whispered. Mira reached for his sleeve. Luna watched his face, checking for impatience. Finding none, she closed her eyes. The house didn't echo anymore. It breathed. Morning arrived, pale and uncertain. Elias burned the first batch of pancakes. The smell filled the kitchen, warm and wrong. Mira laughed, one short sound, surprised by itself. Luna smiled without showing teeth, and began stacking plates, aligning them carefully. Elias's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He stepped into the hallway and listened to the voicemail. "Mr. Crown," a woman said, voice smooth, controlled. "This is Vivian Hale. I've been informed you currently have my nieces. Family does not belong with strangers. I'll be filing for custody." The line went dead. Elias stood still, phone warm in his hand. Not fear, clarity. He returned to the kitchen and sat. Mira watched him closely. "Bad news, adult stuff," Elias said. "We'll handle it." Luna's eyes sharpened. "Is it about us?" "Yes," Elias said. "And it's my job to keep it from hurting you." A knock came later, Gentle announced. "Miss Tessa Rowe, social worker, clipboard." Calm smile? She sat on the floor with the girls, asked about favorite colors, snacks, what helped them sleep. Mira answered politely. Luna listened more than she spoke. Afterward, Tessa turned to Elias. "There's a petition from a biological aunt. It will be considered." Luna didn't look up. "Temporary," she said quietly. "Yes," Elias replied. "But it's a step." Mira whispered. "Steps can go backward." "They can," Elias agreed. "Which is why I'm taking another one." He made the call that afternoon. "I want to pursue guardianship," he said. Then, after a pause, "and prepare for adoption." The word settled into the room like a vow. Not loud, not dramatic, just chosen. And for the first time since the girls had stood in the snow, hope didn't feel like something they had to watch from outside. Snow fell harder that night. It pressed against the windows in thick, quiet sheets, muting the world beyond the glass. Inside the house, everything was too still, the kind of stillness that made children listen for sounds that hadn't happened yet. Elias found Luna in the hallway just after dinner. She was kneeling on the floor, her back straight, folding clothes into careful rectangles. Each item was placed inside Mira's backpack with practiced precision. Socks paired, pajamas smoothed flat, nothing wrinkled, nothing rushed. The bag sat open by the front door. "Ready?" "What are you doing?" Elias asked softly. Luna didn't look up. "Making it easier. For who? For everyone," she said. "If it's neat, people don't get annoyed." The sentence landed like something rehearsed, something learned the hard way. Elias sat on the floor across from her. He didn't reach for the bag. He didn't move it farther from the door. "You don't have to do that here," he said. Luna paused, fingers stilling on a folded sleeve. Slowly, she looked up at him. "What if being easy is the only way people stay?" The question wasn't angry. It wasn't even sad. It was practical. Elias felt it cut through years of armor. "I'm staying because I choose to," he said carefully. "Not because you're easy." Luna searched his face for conditions, for expiration dates, for the tone adults used when they were almost done. Finding none, she nodded once. Not relief, understanding. From the living room, Mira watched silently, hugging a stuffed bear Sienna had brought earlier. Her fingers dug into the worn fabric. "Do we have to go soon?" she asked. "No," Elias said. "Not tonight, and not without me knowing." Mira's shoulders trembled. "People say temporary a lot, I know. It feels like a countdown." Elias reached out, not to pull her close, but to rest his hand where she could see it. "I won't let that word turn into a clock." Later, after the lights dimmed and the house settled, the nightmares came quietly. No screaming, no thrashing, just breath hitching in the dark. Mira sat upright in bed, eyes wide, chest tight. Elias was there before she called his name. He knelt beside her, grounding himself in the moment. "They said we have to choose again," she whispered. "Who said that?" "The lady with the glasses," Mira said. "The judge." Elias didn't correct her. He understood. Courtrooms followed children home in ways adults pretended not to notice. "You already told the truth," he said. "You don't have to choose anything else." Mira leaned into him, small and shaking. From the doorway, Luna watched. If we get scared a lot, she asked quietly, will you get tired? Elias closed his eyes for half a second. Fear doesn't scare me away, he said. I promise, effort. I promise staying. The backpack stayed by the door, but for the first time it wasn't zipped. Vivian Hale chose the toy gallery for the meeting. Appearances mattered to her. She stood beneath the amber light's tailored coat, immaculate posture relaxed in the way of someone who believed the room would agree with her eventually. She smiled as Elias approached the counter where weeks earlier 2 girls had stood outside in the snow. So Vivian said lightly, "You're the man who collects children now." "This isn't a performance," Elias replied. Vivian laughed softly. "Everything is, especially custody." Her eyes traveled the store-curated expensive intentional. "You've done well for yourself. This isn't about money." "It always is," she countered. "Blood matters. Courts know that. Stability matters more," Elias said. "And safety." Vivian leaned in, lowering her voice. "You met them on a whim. When this gets inconvenient, when it costs time, reputation, you'll step aside." Elias didn't raise his voice. "You didn't step in when their mother died." Her smile tightened. "I had my reasons. And now I'm ready," she said. "And I'll win. Prepare them. Children adjust better when they expect change." The word prepare tasted like poison. That night, the girls felt it. Children always did. Something heavy had entered the house without knocking. "Is it Aunt Vivian?" Mira asked at dinner, pushing peas into careful lines. "Yes," Elias said. "We don't want to go," Mira whispered. "I know." Luna's jaw tightened. "She scares us." That mattered. The social worker returned the next day. Evaluations began. Home checks. Gentle questions asked with practiced calm. Luna answered carefully, choosing words like stepping stones across water. Mira answered honestly, emotion close to the surface. Afterward, Elias found Luna lining up crayons by color cool tones on one side, warm on the other. "Are we in trouble?" Mira asked. "No," Elias said, closing his laptop. "We're doing the steps." Steps to where? Luna asked without looking up. "To figuring out where you'll be safest." Mira's shoulders tensed. "Here, that's what I'm working toward," Elias said. "But I won't lie to you. There will be meetings, questions." Luna's voice was flat. "Grown-ups ask questions like they already know the answers. Sometimes they do," Elias agreed. "That's why it helps when kids tell the truth." Mira frowned. "What if the truth isn't enough?" Elias knelt so they were eye to eye. "Then it becomes my job to make it enough." That night, the backpack was moved. Not out the door, but closer, just in case. Family court was smaller than Elias expected. Beige walls, hard benches, fluorescent lights that flattened every feeling into the same pale color. Luna and Mira sat between Elias and the child advocate, their feet swinging slowly, not touching the floor. Across the room, Vivian sat composed in navy confidence, polished thin. The judge listened. Blood ties were argued. Best interest was debated. Stability weighed against biology. When it was Elias's turn, he stood. "These children have experienced loss," he said evenly. "Removing them again would cause harm." Vivian's attorney countered smoothly. "Children attach quickly to novelty." The judge turned to the girls. "Luna, Mira, can you tell me where you feel safest?" The room held its breath. Mira spoke first, voice shaking. "With him." Luna nodded. "He stays." Vivian leaned forward. "They're confused." "That's enough," the judge said, gently, firmly. After deliberation, the ruling came. Temporary custody remains with Mr. Crown. Temporary again. Outside the courtroom, Mira tugged Elias's sleeve. "Did we do it wrong?" "No," Elias said, kneeling. "You did it perfectly." "But it's still temporary," Luna said. "Yes," Elias replied, "which means we keep going." At home, the house felt heavier. Mira grew quiet, watching doors. Luna reorganized shelves that didn't need organizing. That night, Elias found the backpack open again. If we have to go, Luna said it'll be faster. Elias sat on the floor with them. I won't let temporary become a countdown, he said. I'm filing everything. I'm meeting every requirement. I'm here. Mira leaned into his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Promise you won't get tired, she whispered. Fear doesn't scare me away, Elias said. I promise effort. I promise presence. The next morning, Elias made the call. File for adoption, he told his lawyer. Not just guardianship. The word settled into the air like a line drawn in snow. Clear, deliberate, unmovable, and for the first time temporary met something stronger. Resolve. The judge's chambers didn't look like court. No bench, no looming seal on the wall, no sharp echoes that made small voices disappear. Just a low table, 2 soft chairs, a bowl of wrapped candies no one touched, and a window where snow drifted past like slow motion. Judge Marianne Holt sat with an open notebook posture, gentle but unshakable. Beside her, the court-appointed child advocate held a pen, not like a weapon, more like a promise to remember. Luna and Mira sat side by side, feet dangling, hands linked so tightly their knuckles looked pale. It wasn't fear, exactly. It was preparation. Elias wasn't allowed inside. That fact alone made Mira's throat tighten. She had learned to measure safety by proximity. Luna had learned to measure it by patterns. This was a new pattern. Unknown. Dangerous. Judge Holt spoke softly. Thank you for coming in. There are no right or wrong answers today. I just want to hear what feels true to you. Mira nodded too fast. Luna nodded slower, like she was verifying the terms. Can you tell me about Mr. Crown? The judge asked. Mira's shoulders loosened by a fraction. He stays, she said. It came out like a simple fact, not a compliment. The judge smiled slightly. Can you tell me what that means? Mira searched for words that didn't feel like begging. He makes breakfast. Even when he burns it, she said, serious. And he listens when I talk. When I wake up scared. He comes. The advocate's pen moved quietly. Judge Holt turned to Luna. What about you? Luna inhaled slowly. She didn't want to sound dramatic. Dramatic made adults suspicious. Dramatic made them think you were performing. He doesn't tell us to be quiet, Luna said. He lets us say no. The judge nodded, eyes steady. Say no to what? Luna hesitated, then answered honestly. To hugs. To questions. To God being forced. The room went still, not because anything terrible had been said, but because the truth had entered cleanly. Judge Holt's voice stayed calm. And what happens when you say no? Luna's eyes flicked up quick. He stops. Mira added, he doesn't get mad. Judge Holt wrote something down. Do you ask him the same question more than once? She asked gently. Mira's face flushed. Yes. What question? The judge asked. Luna's voice dropped. If he'll be there in the morning. Judge Holt's expression didn't change. That was the kind of control that made children feel safe, someone who could hear pain without panicking. And is he? She asked. Mira whispered. So far. Luna corrected, careful, every time. The judge leaned back slightly, giving them space. What about your Aunt Vivian? Mira stiffened like a wire pulled tight. She scares me, she said quickly, then rushed on, afraid she'd done something wrong. Not like yelling, just like she talks like we're not there. Luna nodded. She talks about us, not to us. Judge Holt's voice remained even. Has she ever hurt you? Both girls shook their heads. Mira pressed her lips together. But my stomach hurts when she's near, Mira whispered, small and embarrassed by her own body. Judge Holt nodded, as if that made perfect sense, because it did. If you could choose, she said softly, where would you live? Snow drifted past the window in thick silence. Luna looked at Mira. Mira looked back and nodded once fast, like sealing a pact. Luna turned to the judge. With Elias, she said. Not Mr. Crown. Elias, why? Judge Holt asked. Mira's eyes filled. He didn't have to, she said. But he did. The advocate looked up sharply. Judge Holt's pen paused. He didn't have to, what the judge asked, gentle but precise. Mira swallowed hard. He didn't have to notice us, she said. He didn't have to bring us inside. He didn't have to keep coming back when we wake up. But he does. Luna's voice came quieter, steadier. He chose us first. The words didn't sound like poetry. They sounded like survival math. Judge Holt closed her notebook slowly. Thank you, she said. You were very brave. When the door opened, Elias was waiting in the hallway, hands clasped behind his back, like he didn't trust them to hold anything fragile. Mira ran to him and wrapped her arms around his waist, face pressed into his coat. Luna didn't run. She stepped close and held onto his sleeve, small contact, deliberate. I told the truth, Mira whispered. That's all you ever needed to do, Elias said, voice steady even as his chest tightened. Luna looked up at him. We both did. Elias knelt and hugged them carefully. No squeezing, no rushing, just presence. Outside, snow kept falling. Inside, the truth had already spoken. Waiting did strange things to a house. It made corners louder. It made hallways longer. It made clocks feel like threats. Elias kept the routine steady on purpose. School drop-offs, dinner at the same hour, bedtime, at the same time, the same story read in the same voice. He refused to let uncertainty rewrite the day. But children sensed weather shifts the way animals did. Mira grew quieter, eyes tracking doors, as if they might open without warning. When Elias left a room, she watched until he returned. When he answered a question, once she asked it again, just to see if the answer would change. Luna reorganized anything that could be organized: shoes, aligned by size, books, squared on shelves, crayons sorted by shade. It wasn't tidying. It was control. One afternoon, Elias found Luna on the floor in the guest room, folding clothes into a stack so neat it looked like it belonged in a store display. Mira hovered in the doorway, clutching her bear. Are you packing? Elias asked gently. Luna didn't stop folding. No. Then what is this making it easier? Luna said. Same words as before, like a prayer she didn't believe in but kept saying anyway. For who? Elias asked. Luna swallowed. For whoever has to deal with us. Mira's face crumpled. We're not a deal, she whispered. Elias sat on the floor beside them, legs crossed. You are not a problem to be managed, he said. Not here. Luna's fingers stilled. She stared at a folded sleeve as if it might answer her. What if being easy is the only way people stay? She asked again, quieter this time. Elias chose his words like stepping onto thin ice. I'm staying because I want to, he said. Not because you're easy, Mira sniffed. What if the judge says no, then we keep going, Elias replied. We don't give up. That night, the nightmares returned, not loud, but relentless. Mira sat upright in bed, breathing too fast. Eyes wide. Elias appeared in the doorway before she could say his name, as if he'd been listening with his whole body. She said, I have to choose again, Mira whispered. I who? The judge, Mira said, voice breaking. Or the lady with the papers. Elias sat on the floor at her bedside. You already told the truth, he said. You don't have to choose anything else. Mira leaned into him, trembling. Luna stood in the doorway, arms crossed tight, as if holding herself together. Promise you won't get tired, she said. Elias didn't answer fast, not because he didn't know, but because he respected the weight of the question. Then he spoke. Fear doesn't scare me away, he said. I promise effort. I promise staying. Mira pressed her forehead against his shoulder. What if we're scared a lot? Then I stay a lot, Elias answered. Snow tapped at the window like impatient fingers. The next morning, Elias found the backpack by the door again. Open. Empty. waiting. He didn't move it. He sat beside it and waited for the girls to come downstairs. When they did, he pointed at it gently. "You don't have to keep that ready," he said. Luna's eyes flicked to the zipper. "What if we want to?" Elias nodded. "Then it stays. And I stay too." That was the compromise, not forcing trust, not demanding bravery, just remaining. 3 days felt longer than 3 years. On the third night, Elias got an email. Final evaluation complete. Ruling Friday. He read it twice, then once more. He didn't show the girls. He made pancakes instead, and burned them. Mira smiled at the smell like it meant something good. Luna watched Elias more than the food, as if she was deciding whether staying could become a fact. Friday morning arrived bright as if the city had decided to be kind on purpose. Snow covered the sidewalks in clean white sheets. The air was so cold it felt sharp in the lungs. Elias moved quietly through the house, not rushing, not dragging the moment forward. Mira chose a soft blue sweater, quiet, safe, not attention-grabbing. Luna chose lavender, then changed her mind, then chose lavender again, like she was testing whether choice was allowed to exist without consequence. Elias knelt to tie Mira's boots, then Luna's. He didn't do it because they couldn't. He did it because care was a language, and today he wanted it spoken clearly. At the courthouse, the fluorescent lights flattened everything into beige again. The warmth inside felt artificial, as if it didn't belong to anyone. Vivian Hale sat across the room, posture perfect, expression controlled. Her confidence looked thinner than before, stretched tight over something restless. She didn't look at the girls directly. She looked at paperwork, strategy, outcomes. Judge Holt entered. Everyone rose. Elias felt Mira's hand tighten around his small fingers, gripping like a lifeline. Luna didn't squeeze. She held steady herself, her sister, the space between fear and hope. Judge Holt didn't waste time. "I have reviewed the evaluations, the home assessment, and the private interviews with the children," she said. Elias barely breathed. "The paramount concern of this court is the best interest of the children," the judge continued. "Not convenience, not reputation, not biology alone." Vivian's attorney shifted. Judge Holt turned slightly toward Vivian. "Miss Hale, your petition raises concerns. Your involvement appeared only after resources became available. Your lack of prior contact weighs heavily." Vivian's face flushed. "That's not fair. That's enough," Judge Holt said firmly, not harsh, simply final. Then she turned to Elias. "Mr. Crown," she said, "you have demonstrated consistent care, emotional stability, and a willingness to place the children's needs above your own." The words hit Elias like warmth after a long cold. Judge Holt paused, letting the room feel the gravity. "This court orders that Luna Hale and Mira Hale remain in your custody." Mira's breath caught so sharply it sounded like a sob. Luna's eyes filled fast. She blinked hard, refusing to lose control, then allowed one tear to fall anyway, quiet and undeniable. Judge Holt continued, voice steady. "Furthermore, I am approving the initiation of permanent adoption proceedings." For a second, the room didn't move. Then Mira lifted both hands to her mouth, eyes wide. Does that mean we stay?" she whispered. Elias turned toward her, heart pounding, careful not to make it too loud, too big, too fragile. "Yes," he said, kneeling to meet her eyes. "It means you stay." Luna's gaze pinned him like a nail in wood. Forever, Elias swallowed, choosing honesty with tenderness. "We're moving toward forever," he said. "The right way." Vivian stood abruptly. "You can't do this." A bailiff stepped closer. "Miss Hale." Outside the courtroom, snow swirled in bright sunlight. The cold hit their faces, but it felt different now, like weather, not punishment. Mira tugged Elias's hand, still unsure. "So, we don't have to pack." Elias looked down at her, then at Luna. "No," he said softly. "Not for goodbye." Luna's shoulders dropped just an inch. The smallest surrender of a shield. Back at the house that night, nothing exploded into celebration. It settled. 2 pairs of shoes appeared by the door, placed neatly without instruction, not as evidence of temporary guests, but as proof of routine. At bedtime, Elias did the same ritual: lamp, dim, door open, connecting, door open too. Mira whispered, drowsy. When people get adopted, they don't have to leave anymore, right? That's right, Elias said. Luna hesitated, fingers twisting the blanket. Can I try something? Elias turned back fully. Of course. Luna stared at the wall, then at him like crossing a bridge in the dark. Dad, she said, testing the word like it might break. Time slowed. Elias didn't flinch. He didn't joke. He didn't demand. He simply answered the way he always had. Yes, he said softly. I'm here. Mira smiled like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. Luna exhaled, small, shaky, real. And for the first time, the house didn't feel like a place they were borrowing. It felt like a place they were allowed to keep. The final signing didn't feel dramatic. No cameras, no applause, just a quiet room, a wooden desk, and a stack of documents that weighed more than they looked. Snow drifted past the courthouse windows slower now, like it had learned patience. Judge Marianne Holt smiled as she slid the last paper forward. Congratulations, she said. You are officially a family. Mira stared at the page, then up at Elias. Does this mean we don't have to leave? Elias knelt beside her chair, voice steady. It means you stay. Luna watched carefully, as she always did. Not temporary. Not temporary, Elias said. Luna nodded once, absorbing it, the way she absorbed everything important, quietly, completely. When the pen scratched its final line, something unseen loosened in the room. Not joy exactly. Relief. The kind that settles into bones after a long winter. Outside, Mira slipped her hand into Elias's without asking. Luna followed a second later, fingertips brushing his sleeve before committing. On the courthouse steps, Mira looked back at the doors. So, what happens now? Elias smiled softly. Now we go home. Luna glanced down at her boots, then back up. And tomorrow too. The word forever didn't need to be said. It was already there. The house didn't change overnight. It learned slowly. Shoes by the door, 2 small pairs placed without instruction. A nightlight glowing in the hallway because someone asked for it. Crayons left on the table, not lined up, not hidden away. Mira started telling stories at dinner. Small ones. About clouds that looked like animals. About a leaf that followed her down the sidewalk. Elias listened like each sentence mattered. Luna watched longer. She tested patterns. If Elias left the room, did he come back? If she asked the same question twice, did the answer change? If she stayed quiet, was she still welcome? One afternoon, Elias found the backpack tucked inside the closet. Empty. Is that okay? Luna asked, not looking up. Elias smiled. It's more than okay. That night, as he tucked them in, Mira whispered, what happens next? Elias said his ordinary days, school, breakfast, burnt pancakes. Mira grinned. Luna's voice came softer. And if we get scared again, then we talk, Elias said. And you stay, Luna added. Elias nodded. And I stay. Luna closed her eyes slowly, like someone lowering a shield 1 inch at a time. Snow fell again weeks later, soft, familiar, almost gentle. Elias walked with Luna and Mira down the same sidewalk where 2 girls had once stood under an awning watching happiness through glass. The Crown and Ember toy gallery glowed the same way it always had. Mira stopped. This is where we met you. Luna nodded. We were just looking. Elias smiled. Do you want to go inside? They did without hesitation. The bell chimed. Warm air wrapped around them. The store felt smaller now. Not a promise, just a place. Can we look? Mira asked. Yes, Elias said. And today you can choose. Luna took her time. She chose a small wooden train, not expensive, just right. Mira chose a book. At the counter, Elias paid. No ceremony, no performance. Outside, the snow softened. Mira skipped once, then laughed when she realized she was allowed to. I thought we needed money, she said thoughtfully. Luna added quieter, or something big. Elias squeezed their hands. What did you need? Mira smiled, certain now. Someone who noticed. Luna nodded. And stayed. They walked on, leaving the glass behind, not because it no longer mattered, but because it no longer stood between them and what they needed most. Home. Did this story move your soul? Share your feelings in the comments and rate it from 1 to 10. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Then tap the bell icon so you never miss a new story. Click the end screen to watch another heartfelt video. See you in the next story.